Hi, everyone. It's me, Krylios, Team Racing Productions MC and producer. And joining me today is Sarahia Benn. Welcome.
Hey, how you
Hey,
doing?
Sarahia, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I am doing fabulous. It is great to have you here and so great to just have a good chat with you and let our viewers get to know who you are. And so to start that off, I'm going to just ask you to introduce yourself and let everyone know a little bit about your experience and background.
Sure. My name is Sarahia Benn. I'm running for state office, and I haven't declared what position I'm running. And I know everybody's like, why? It's like late in the game. Well, guess what? They pushed the filing deadline back. I have a really tough decision between state senate and state delegate because the community has been asking me to run for state senate. But some of
Mhm,
the community has been asking me to run for state delegate and for different
mhm.
reasons. So I've decided that in the next week, I know I've been saying this, people, boys
Yeah.
and girls, I've been saying it. Promise you within the next week, I am going to make that decision. I've been having different meetings. But either case, I'm running for state office and I'm going to win.
Yeah. I
Um,
love that. I love that.
to give a little background about myself, I've been an educator for about really 20 plus years, but I worked at St. James Academy, a private school, for 15 plus years. And I was active in my community doing many different things. And I believe that I'm going to bring a whole new chapter to my leadership this time by being a state representative. I'm a prominent environmentalist. I've been a part of the Rebuild Maryland Coalition and several other coalitions. Now, Rebuild Maryland consists of 71 organizations and businesses, and we advocate for environmental policy, specifically marginalized communities. And then I'm also part of the Maryland Legislative Coalition, and I'm a top organizing member of that. And we consist of about 30,000 members. And so that's kind of what I do on a regular daily basis, is advocating for policy. I'm also an integral part of our revolution, Progressive Maryland. I'm a policy expert. At least people come to me trying to write and debunk policy all the time. So
Mhm.
I think I'm pretty good at it. And I've always advocated for policies specifically out of my county, Harford County, but also out of Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and the rest of the state of Maryland. I'm the official chair of Harford County's Women of Action, which is an official wing of the Democratic Party in Harford County. There's only one other official wing, which is the Democratic Central Committee. And basically what we did with that group was that we helped Raphael Warnock and some other members during the 2020 election get elected. So we did a lot of phone banking, a lot of writing of cards, and helped anybody who was trying to get elected. And that's basically what we are, as a support group to other Democratic entities to try to get elected. I've also chosen to advocate on a regular basis outside of just anything to advocate for small business revitalization, economic and environmental justice. That's just something that I've always been into. But I also have been a big advocate for the reconstruction of our Maryland transportation system. We just have no transportation. And as an educator, clearly, I've always advocated for that, but I also am advocating for the legalization, the true legalization of cannabis. And I know that's a very controversial topic, but we really do need to do that at this time. Also,
Certainly.
yeah. Also, as a leader in the arts community and the executive director of the Policy Foundation of Maryland and the executive legislative director of Voices Maryland, I've consulted on music and media within my area and outside of my area, outside of the region. I understand the legislative process. I've used my voice to speak for those who truly need it. And trust me, in my district, we truly need it. But more than anything, as a Black woman candidate, I would be bringing a voice to the table that has not been represented before. my run is a historic run. It was a historic run before, but it's really a historic run because we have not had anybody representing my district that's been Black, brown, or marginalized. I have a unique voice. I'm a well-known advocate, and I'm an expert at writing and getting votes in legislation. So that's a
All
little bit about me.
right. Love that. Love that. And I want to, for any of the viewers, watching who might not be aware of the intricate differences or the difference between, in the Senate, state Senate, or state delegate, could you just expound briefly on what your duties or responsibilities would look
Mhm.
differently depending on which one you choose to run for?
Sure. Well, I mean, they're similar in a lot of respects. Okay, state delegate, technically, traditionally, now there's traditional roles versus non-traditional, and
Yeah,
everything's
yeah.
sort of broken to tradition
Mhm.
in recent times. But traditionally speaking, the House of Delegates was the state level version of the House of Representatives on the federal level,
Mm-hmm.
which
There we
means that
go.
they write the policy and get the bills, and then they send it to the Senate, which is on the
Mm-hmm.
state level. The Senate mimics the federal level of the Senate, where the Senate actually finally passes the bill and cuts and does the fiscal writing. They're the ones who
Yes.
figure out the fiscal bill of it. They're usually the ones who are, there's usually less representation in the Senate because they usually represent a bigger swath of the population. So delegate seats represent a smaller part of the district. So that's why there's many more delegates to represent, where the Senate represents a bigger area. And then they
There we
also
go.
have bigger responsibility by representing those policy things. But to be honest with you, in today's world, that's not necessarily true. They've almost flipped scripts in the state of Maryland. The
Mm.
more conservative chamber is now the House, and the
I
Senate
see.
is more, believe it or not,
More
more
progressive on
aggressive
that.
with
I
policy. To be
see. I
honest with
see.
you.
Well, I'd love to know, Saria, why at this time, have you chosen to throw your hat in the ring and, run for public office? What was it about, this election cycle that made you say, this is the time, for me to throw my hat in the ring and get in there? What was it?
Well, let me just go back to 2018 or 2017. First thing, I've always been inspired to run and do many things over the years for the people. I come from a civil rights family, and I've worked in the community all my life on some kind of daily basis, where I've mentored in some kind of capacity. I've always studied civics on my own. It's been sort of a lifelong process. Just for whatever reason, I've been somewhat of a little bit of a nerd. But what happened was that in I want to say it was around 2016, but before then, my mom had fell ill. And I decided to go to one of my legislators, and I asked them if they could help me as a caregiver, with my mom's circumstances situation. And they told me absolutely not. And when they told me absolutely not, that told me everything I needed to hear at that particular point in time. Because when a person tells me they can't do nothing, it tells me that they need to be fired and I need to be hired. You don't get to tell me that nothing can be done. A policy is completely limitless. It's only limited by the imagination of that person. And that let me know that either they were in the position for the wrong reason, or they just didn't have any imagination or understanding of policy. And and I also understood that other people had to be in my position. Other people had to have family members who had aged, who they became caregivers because they were in my situation where they were working a regular schedule and had to, my mom ended up completely paralyzed. She could not help
Wow.
herself. And so you got to understand, she became 24-hour care. And when you go from that kind of circumstance where, and my mom was not a type of person that wanted to go into a home. And I'll be honest with you, it was not a choice that I wanted to have my mom in a home because I was very close to my mom. She's now passed. She passed actually the same week that I announced to run for office, to be honest with you, 2 days
Mm.
before. And
I hear that.
so the thing is that it was very personal to me to run. And so I knew other people had to be experiencing that. And I knew the problem could not be solved on the local level. And I knew it was something that could be solved on this state or federal level. And then I just looked at my options that, it was something that possibly I could run on the state level. So I looked at service and said, listen, this is part of my tradition. So carrying that forward to answer your question, in running in 2018, I came within 67 votes of winning. And so, I didn't stop advocating from that time. So that's the reason why I'm running now. I'm finishing the play. I'm going in to win what they stole from me in 2018, because I'm going to tell you, my opponents stole my seat. They did. And that's okay, because, things do happen, there's politics. But, because I was good at reaching the voters, but I was a little naive in terms of the cheats and the games of politicking and everything. But I'm going to tell you, I'm running for the people, and I have a tradition of giving service because it's something that my family has done. I have a gift of writing and consulting and legislation. But more importantly, I want to say this last thing before we move on, because, like I said, it's a historic run, because we have not had any representation of Black, brown, or marginalized people in my district. And it's specifically my delegate district, a majority Black, brown, and marginalized district, and never ever having anybody represent of that. This would mean something to inspire young children, businesses, and other people to show that we can have other voices. Because if you look at our delegation right now, they don't have any diversity. They don't have any diversity in thought, in policy, in contribution. In fact, the truth is there's nothing. In fact, most of the voters just really don't agree with most of what they're doing. It's just that because we're in a virtual, what I call media dark zone, it's allowed many of them to be reelected through different political cheats. And I'm sure in your area how that goes as well.
Yeah, so I actually want you to touch on, narrow it down to 3, top issues, or challenges or that you'd really love to tackle if elected to this role. So briefly give me those top 3 that you'd really like to tackle.
Okay, well, 3. I would like to definitely, first thing, I'm on a platform of workers' wages and, this economic small business revitalization. We're currently going through inflation, and massive inflation, and people are feeling the pinch in multiple ways. And so the thing is during this pandemic, 50% of small businesses went under. And of that 50%, most of them were Black, women, and other marginalized communities. And you got to understand, those are businesses that are not coming back. We hope they'll come back. But we also look at the census, and we say that 53 to 54% of our population in Maryland are Black, brown, marginalized, and women, right? So they're going to have to address this small business issue. And so for me, it has to be addressed at the small business level in terms of procurement. We're doing very little in the procurement. There needs to be massive reform. Right now, they're not even addressing 11%. They're supposed to be getting 30%. Billions of dollars are being lost in our communities because we're only addressing, I think it's 11% of that. Second issue that I stand on is the environment. There's going to be a lot of money to be made through that, a lot of high-paying jobs, and that environmental, it addresses the transportation issue. It addresses dealing with the mass industrialization of our areas. We go from fossil fuels to clean trucks, just about anything you could think of, because Maryland has to get energy independent, whether it wants to or not. And a lot of the legislators we're dealing with right now are really in the bag of big oil. It just is what it is. Look at who's donating to their campaigns, and you'll see why they're voting the way they're voting. The third thing that I really stand on is, let's see here. I said the environment, small business. I believe education is important, but I'll be honest with you, I still want to go with transportation. And the reason why I say transportation, we do not have a regional transportation authority. And what ties workers to a job is transportation. Now, I'll give you an example. There could be a high qualified HVAC worker that needs a job in Baltimore City, but if he lives in Jarrettsville, Maryland, and he can't get to Baltimore City, that's because there's no regional transit authority connecting that thing. There used to be a time when Maryland was running neck and neck to DC. Now it's behind. DC has a full, transportation system. Maryland does not. There are workers in Elkton that could go on part of the shore, but they can't get there. Right now, they did this 30-day tax holiday. Well, what about the workers who don't have cars? Where's their holiday? Where's their tax holiday? They have done nothing, in my opinion. And I know I'm gonna get hit for this, but let's just be real. So we need to address transportation because it's an economic imperative and it crosses all racial backgrounds. It's not a black or white issue. It's an all person's issue, and it'll tie to our economy and build up our area. Plus, it improves our environment.
Yes, I love that. I love that. That's so important. Thanks for sharing. Sarahia, tell me, why are you the best choice for voters come this election season?
Well, I mean, it's just simple. I am the best. I am the people's champ. One thing I will do that the others have not done and my competition have done, they have failed. They have failed the people at all costs and all ends and everything they have done. One thing I won't do is fail. I will fight for them in ways that nobody else has ever fought. I am the best advocate that, that when people ask me to do something, I go all the way through. For instance, as a state representative, some people say, oh, I only represent my district. But we write state policy that impacts the entire state. Yes, we write some policy that impacts our district, but I will have an open door policy that if somebody's in Prince George's and wants to talk to Sarahia Benn, they can call Sarahia Benn. And if they have something they want to present and work with me on, I'm going to work with them. If someone in Montgomery County, wherever, because as a statement, I know that makes me a little bit open and I know that sounds a little crazy, but it's a very big responsibility. And I don't think some of our representatives are taking this job they're not taking it as seriously as they should. Just like this General Assembly, it shouldn't be 3 months. This is really perhaps a 6 month to a year job. That's the reason why only the privileged get to almost end up in these positions on a regular basis. And it's not fair that we're having people that are out of touch with our communities legislating. So I know I'm the best. I know more about policy than my opponents. I know more about the community than my opponents. My opponents have failed. I have not. I've done more as an advocate than they have done. I've worked with their opponents. I've worked with their colleagues, and gotten endorsements from their colleagues. So I'm just not going to fail. That's just it. I'm just like an energized bunny. That's why they get mad at me, because I keep on going.
Thanks for sharing that, Sarahia. When does voting begin in Maryland for, depending on what you're running, delegate or sen, but when does voting begin?
Well, originally the primary was June 28th, but it's been pushed back because, redistricting.
Yes,
they did violated the Voting Rights Act, and they've also done it in my area, although
so the lawsuit has
multiple
pushed back
that are still out. So it's been pushed back to July 19th, but I'm going to tell you, you heard it here first, it's going to get pushed back again because they have not adjudicated the cases. And there's going to be probably another case, because the case that they just did where they put the map in Baltimore County, there should be 3 representatives that represent Black and marginalized districts, and they've only, at first when they put up, they had none. Now they put up with 1. I don't think that's going to go through. You cannot suppress your population. We do not get to pick our voters. When I ran in 2018, everybody thought, oh, I was just going to go for certain people. I didn't get to pick my voters then, and nobody else gets to pick them either.
There we go.
They get to pick you.
There we go. So whether it gets pushed back or not, keep the deadlines in mind. And we want to make sure that our viewers are registered to vote when election time comes. So you can go to headcount.org to check your voter registration status, update anything you may need to update, and register to vote. Once again, that is headcount.org. Sarahia, before I let you go, how can people find out more about you, find out more about your campaign, volunteer, donate, support? How are they able to get in contact and do that?
Awesome. Well, first thing, wait a sec. I'm about to lose power. Hey, do me a favor. Could you connect me? Son, I'm sorry. I'm in the middle of an interview. Son. Wait, so hold on.
We're wrapping up now. So if you just want to go ahead and
www.benformaryland.com. Okay, so that's www.benformaryland.com. That's Ben, BENNFOR Maryland.com. I'm sorry. My power went out of my computer almost. And please donate. I'm a grassroots candidate. And, you know, the thing about grassroots, we make every dollar count. I need to hire staff. I need to buy posters, signs, and lit. And the thing about it is this: once you say politician, everybody charges you a lot of money. So just be mindful of that. Donate at benformaryland.com and just support in any way you can.
Awesome. Well, we're going to have those links in the description below so viewers can go ahead and check them out. Sarahia Benn, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been such a pleasure getting to talk with you and hear everything that's going on. And we eagerly await to see whether you run for state senate or state delegate. Thanks so much for joining me today. Thank you. And to those watching, please follow Team Racing Productions at Team Racing on all forms of social media. Like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. But most of all, thank you for watching. Bye, everyone.